First of all, you're ruining your own reputation. Secondly, you're betraying your profession, your professional oath. Thirdly, you are betraying your country because you're doing harm to your country, because you're creating the impression that this administration cannot be fought for all of the illegalities that we've been talking about. Right. This is an administration that is punishing people because the president is a convicted felon and is angry that he was almost brought to justice, and he wants to inflict harm on the government, and also his people he wants to inflict harm on our legal system, and he also wants to deter people from fighting back to all the illegal things he's doing.
Something happened on live television that could haunt Donald Trump for the rest of his life. This was not a rally gaffe, a courtroom slip, or a late-night tweet storm. It was the public dismantling of the Trump myth, taken apart piece by piece in real time. The person delivering the blow was not a prosecutor, a political rival, or even a journalist. It was George Conway, the one figure Trump cannot easily dismiss or silence. Calm, composed, and unnervingly precise, Conway attacked Trump's political failures, exposed his spiraling legal troubles, and then, without warning, tore into the illusion of his marriage. The way he presented it did not sound like speculation. It sounded like evidence. And for the first time, Trump appeared to be the one on trial.
And when you capitulate to him, you are encouraging them to send more people to El Salvador, including potentially American citizens, because they want to create a system where everybody's too afraid to provide legal services to fight against the illegality. And one more thing here is, they're doing this because of money. Money, and here's what's going on with this. The firms that are capitulating, and I know this because I spent 30 years practicing at a law firm that did mergers and acquisitions work, okay? And it's a very lucrative form of work, and you get paid only if the deals go through. And you get paid a significant amount, a percentage of the deal. It's lucrative business, and it's fine business in ordinary times. And they're afraid that the government won't approve the deals of their clients. Well, sorry, guys, you're destroying your reputation in an environment where there aren't going to be any deals because the president is destroying the economy and the U.S. dollar. So you are doubly foolish.
Conway didn't just hurl insults. He launched a calculated attack aimed at striking where Trump is most vulnerable: his control, his image, and his sense of loyalty. He painted the portrait of a man not only losing political battles, but also losing his grip on reality itself. The real shock came when he revealed what many had quietly speculated, but few had dared to say aloud. Melania's silence, he argued, is not loyalty. It is leverage. Every cold glance, every public absence, every carefully timed reappearance is no accident. It is strategic. It is survival. And if Conway is correct, the former First Lady may be holding evidence capable of destroying Trump far more effectively than any prosecutor ever could. The only question is, when will she decide to use it?
One of the things that is sort of interesting about the Trump people is they're not loyal to each other, and not even to Trump in some ways. I don't mean the Trump voters, but I mean the people around him. They are all as self-interested as him. They are all trying to make money by acting as gatekeepers to Trump.
I guess they don't like me, but let me just tell you, these are losers from day one. Guys like Bill Kristol, he's 0-32. George Conway, you take a look at him. Just take a look at that guy. The man's a stone-cold loser. So they should not call it the Lincoln Project. It's not fair to Abraham Lincoln, a great president. They should call it the Losers Project. Okay, thanks.
The audience wasn't just hearing gossip. They were witnessing a political autopsy. Conway dissected Trump's behavior like a crime scene investigator, mapping out patterns so troubling that even veteran political commentators were left speechless. He described how Melania has perfected the art of staying close enough to see everything, yet far enough to escape the blast. According to Conway, she has been documenting every implosion, personal, legal, and political, not to shield Trump, but to shield herself. The timing of her disappearances during scandals, her refusal to defend him in certain crises, even the subtleties of her body language in public all tell a story, Conway argued. And it is a story that, if brought to light, could spell the end of Trump's carefully constructed empire.
Donald Trump has never, ever been right in the head.
The late, great Hannibal Lecter.
He's a wonderful man.
An anonymous, really an anonymous.
We got up. And then they announced there was no buys, no.
And this president doesn't have good faith disagreement and these orders. He does not care. He is a lawless criminal. And we have basically a criminal regime. And if you believe that they are going to abide by court orders, they're not going to do it. They're already probably trying to slide around the court orders.
But Conway wasn't content to stop at speculation about the marriage. He drew a direct line between Trump's chaotic leadership style and his personal relationships, arguing that both are fueled by the same thing: transactional loyalty. He demands it, but he doesn't give it, Conway said, staring straight into the camera. He reminded viewers how quickly Trump abandons allies once they no longer serve his interests, and suggested that Melania may have learned that lesson better than anyone. What if, Conway implied, she has been preparing for the moment when turning on Trump is not just an option, but a necessity? The possibility sent shockwaves through the audience, because if Melania flips, the consequences will not only be personal, they will be historic.
They don't want to obey laws. They don't want to obey rules. They don't think they apply to them. And Donald Trump has no moral conscience and no empathy. He does not care about anybody else other than Donald Trump, which is why in his first term he said, Article 2 lets me do whatever I want. Article 2 of the Constitution. The first Trump term, which I call Shit Show 1, was an assault on the rule of law, but it was only like it was like cancer. It was like a stage 1, maybe stage 2. We got to stage 2 right around January 6th. And he was a threat to the rule of law. And then he went into remission.
Then came the moment that made even the anchors lean forward. Conway hinted, without directly confirming, that Melania may already be preparing her exit. Not emotionally, but politically. She has been in the room for the worst of it: the rage-filled tirades, the whispered threats, the phone calls no one was meant to hear. She knows where the skeletons are buried because she was there when they were shoved into the closet. And if she has been keeping records, and Conway made sure the audience considered that possibility, then Trump is not just battling the courts or the media. He is up against the one person who could blow everything apart with a single interview. That, Conway suggested, is why Trump fears her silence even more than her words.
Stage 3 is basically where we are ignoring laws and running roughshod over laws. I mean, they're basically refusing to spend money appropriated by Congress, which is against the law. The law requires the president to spend money. The president can't not spend the money that's been allocated for particular subjects. And you've got this guy who's not been appointed lawfully under the Constitution.
Let's talk about that.
Musk. Yep. And so that's stage 3. Stage 4 is going to be, well, these courts are telling me not to obey orders. Why should I? I don't want to obey the law, so why am I obeying the courts? And stage 4 is metastasis. Stage 4 is when democracy can die, and the rule of law can die, and constitutionalism can die. And we unless something happens radically, I can't see how we don't get to stage 4, because the logical path that they are taking, which is that the law doesn't apply to us, and nobody can enforce the law against us.
Conway didn't just speak about fear, he made the audience feel it. He described Trump as a man who thrives on dominance, but unravels the moment he loses control. And right now, Conway said, Trump is losing control on every front. His party is splintering, his legal troubles are mounting, and his public image is in free fall. But the most dangerous fracture isn't in politics, it's inside his own home. She has witnessed everything, Conway said. Every threat, every bribe, every meltdown. If that information ever left Trump Tower, it wouldn't just end a marriage, it could dismantle the political movement that idolizes him. The camera lingered on Conway's face, letting that possibility settle like a slow-burning fuse.
You don't want to diagnose him, but I think if you look at the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, he fits every single one of them. It's like the criteria were made to describe him. And I think what we saw with this tweet yesterday is that last final collapse of Donald Trump's mental state. I mean, you think about it, those were like 50, 60, 70,000 people in the aggregate in five rallies in different states. That's loopier than saying that the moon landings were staged, because there were tens of thousands of people were there. To think that is crazy, and to try to sell it to people is just as crazy. He's done. His brain is fried.
Then, with surgical precision, Conway turned to Trump's mental state, a subject most of Trump's critics approach with caution. He didn't. He called it plainly, unstable, erratic, dangerous. He compared Trump's recent public statements to the ramblings of someone untethered from reality. But the real twist, Conway suggested, was that Melania knows this better than anyone, and that her calculated distance is as much about protecting herself as it is about positioning for what comes next. The way Conway framed it, Trump's mental decline isn't rumor, it's a matter of public safety. And if Melania ever decides to pull back the curtain, the country will see a version of Trump that no amount of spin could repair. Viewers were hooked, waiting for the next blow. Conway delivered, exposing the hypocrisy of Trump's public persona, projecting strength while depending entirely on those around him to shield him from reality. And Melania, Conway said, may be his biggest shield of all, not because she is protecting him out of love, but because she is protecting her own future. Every public smile is a mask. Every absence is a calculated retreat. She's not standing by him, Conway said flatly. She's standing by herself. The suggestion was devastating, painting Trump as not only politically isolated, but personally abandoned. A man living in a fortress of glass, surrounded by people ready to shatter it the moment the time is right.
After Donald Trump won in 2016, your name was floated as someone who might work in his administration. You turned that down, and
I was offered the job of head of the Civil Division of the Department of Justice, and I filled out all the forms. They ran my background check, and I was interviewing people who were going to work underneath me. I was sort of far along there. And then I just started having this queasy feeling like I don't really want to work in this administration, because what I saw was a shit show and a dumpster fire. And I just got to the point where I just couldn't do it. And so I didn't. And I was one of the best decisions I'd ever made. Okay, I admit I was wrong to support Donald Trump in 2016. I was horribly wrong. It was a horrible exercise in judgment. I knew better. I should have known better.
By this point, social media was already ablaze with speculation. Has Melania been quietly collecting evidence? Could she be the secret witness no one saw coming? Conway didn't confirm it, but he didn't have to. The mere possibility was enough to send Trump's allies into a state of panic. And that was the brilliance of Conway's attack. It wasn't only about what he revealed, but also about what he left unsaid. Every pause, every subtle smirk invited the audience to imagine the worst. He's not afraid of prosecutors, Conway said. He's afraid of her. Those words landed like a thunderclap, because if Trump's greatest fear is Melania, then his greatest weakness is already inside his own walls.
Terry Schreckman wants to know from you, George, do you expect Trump to target you and other staff of the Lincoln Project? And if so, do you have a defense plan?
I don't have a defense plan other than whatever he pulls up is going to be meritless. My finances are simple. It won't, I don't fear him. And I think one of the things that that people don't quite understand about Trump, but they really should, is the fact that he's a bully and he wants to pick on people who won't fight back.
Conway ended this segment with a warning that felt less like political commentary and more like prophecy. He said Trump's downfall would not come from a single trial or one election, but from a betrayal he never saw coming. And when that betrayal arrives, it will not only strip away his power, it will strip away his very identity. The strongman image only works as long as people believe it, Conway explained. And once those closest to him stop believing, the entire facade will collapse. The silence that followed was not just in the studio, it was felt across the country. Because if Conway is right, the most dangerous threat to Donald Trump is already smiling politely in photographs right beside him.
He's a sociopath, and it's one of the things about sociopath is that they don't plan, they don't think, they just emote, and they're impulsive, and they act on their whims and impulses, and the last person who talked to them. And that's why and then also they have the power, they love the power, the feeling of power that they get when they say, I'm turning this on, I'm turning this off, I'm turning the lights out, I'm turning the lights on, I'm raising tariffs, I'm lowering tariffs, I'm telling everybody in Tehran, 10 million people to evacuate, I'm telling them they're safe for now. Okay, he gets off on that, and then he gets bored with what he said yesterday, and of course he doesn't necessarily remember what he says or care what he says yesterday. So tomorrow's going to be something else.
And now, the cracks in Trump's empire are no longer just visible, they are splitting wide open. The investigations closing in on him are no longer whispers in the dark. They are raging storms armed with subpoenas and hard evidence. Former allies are falling one after another, each testimony driving another nail into the coffin. The financial fraud, the hush money payments, the classified documents, it is all piling into a mountain of scandal so high that even his golden elevator could not carry him over it. He can shout witch hunt until his voice gives out, but the facts are unmoved by slogans. The closer prosecutors draw, the more reckless his actions become. And in politics, desperation is the scent of blood in the water.
This is Donald Trump leading the Republican Party off the cliff. This is a man for whom there is no bottom, and Republicans are just afraid to call him out. He's saying we're in the middle of this war where Putin, who can't be trusted for a moment, who murders political opponents, who slaughters women and children, and Donald Trump is focused on what? Himself? Because he wants to get revenge for losing the 2020 election. He says, okay, let's see their dirt on Hunter Biden. I wonder someday that maybe we won't have a president in Russia who actually acts in the best interest of the Russian people and behaves himself before the world. Maybe President Navalny. I mean, pray to God that somehow that could happen. And maybe we'll see the files on Donald Trump. I think those would be interesting.
Trump's once loyal army is shrinking. Donors who once lined up to kiss the ring are now quietly stepping back, unwilling to burn their own reputations to ash. Strategists whisper that he is uncontrollable, too toxic, a guaranteed loss. Even Fox News, his longtime propaganda pipeline, is cutting away from his speeches when they spiral into incoherent rants. He is losing the very megaphones that once made him a political force. And without the constant echo chamber feeding his base, his grip on their loyalty begins to loosen. For the first time in years, the image of an untouchable strongman is starting to fade, and what's left is just the man terrified of losing everything.
Absolutely. I do think that. I think it was most propitious timing. I think this needed to be done no matter who the Democratic nominee was, for the simple reason that Donald Trump has been getting basically this easy pass double standard on his behavior, because we've seen so much of it and it's basically been normalized, even though it's completely bizarre. We almost kind of don't bat an eyelash at him talking about sharks and electrocution and Hannibal Lecter. I mean, he's been doing crazy stuff like that for years. So he has this weird advantage, and that's part of the advantage. The other part of the advantage is that people are afraid to talk about mental health issues of any sort, lest they give offense or they don't want to stigmatize people. But I mean, this is just so different. I mean, this is the man, the question, this is the question of the mental stability of somebody who would have control of the second largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. I mean, this is just, you just can't look at it the same way.
Behind the scenes, Republicans are facing a choice they've long feared: stay chained to a sinking ship or cut him loose and risk his fury. Either path is a form of political suicide, but the midterms served as a warning shot. Candidates tied to Trump floundered, and the GOP's predicted red wave fizzled into a trickle. Strategists can see the writing on the wall. So long as Trump dominates the conversation, they cannot win over independents. Yet breaking from him risks splitting the party in two. It is a political hostage crisis, and Trump is holding the detonator, fully prepared to blow everything apart if it means saving himself.
He can't help himself but emotionally react to things. One of the things that he's a narcissistic sociopath. That's the thing everyone has to kind of get used to. It's the reason why you cannot normalize him. You cannot treat him like a normal human being, because he's not. He is unwell. And that's why he can't follow. He's not going to be able to follow his lawyer's directions. That's why, he played right into the plaintiff's hands in the E. Jean Carroll case. They're trying to show basically he's a jerk. And what does he do? He acts like a jerk right in front of the jury. He shows disrespect for the jury. And, the fact of the matter is he's saying, oh, none of this ever happened. Well, okay, where's your testimony?
The myth of Trump as the unstoppable kingmaker is beginning to collapse. Polls that once stood like fortresses are now swinging wildly. His legal bills are draining his war chest faster than donations can replenish it. The chaos that once electrified his base is now wearing them down. Even his rallies, once the beating heart of his movement, are shrinking, rows of empty seats glaring under the spotlight. His enemies can smell opportunity, and his allies can smell fear. In politics, momentum is everything, and Trump's is rolling backward down the hill. This is not just a stumble. This is the beginning of the end.
The other thing that he did was to show that this is his modus operandi. He intends to. He's willing to use the threat of violence or to incite violence in order to coerce government officials to either forego enforcing the law against him or to violate the law, as he sought to have Pence and members of Congress do on January 6th.
And when the end comes, it will not be a clean fall. It will be a spectacular implosion, the kind history books dissect for decades. The man who once branded himself as America's savior will leave as its cautionary tale, a case study in how lies, arrogance, and unchecked power always collapse under their own weight. The courts will have their say, the voters will have theirs, and when the dust settles, Donald Trump will remain not as the symbol of a movement, but as the wreckage of one. This is not just politics, this is accountability. And for Trump, accountability is the one enemy he cannot outrun.